Hello everybody. There's still construction going on, just FYI. Hoping it'll be done tonight and it won't be in the videos anymore. Today's not really a vlog. The vlog is going to be before this, but this particular video isn't a vlog, so to speak. This is more of a rant, vent, get it off my chest sort of a thing. And it has to do with my D&C, and I'm going to warn you right now, there's going to be some TMI stuff in here. So if you get queasy at the thought of blood, or you don't like hearing about surgeries or D&Cs or anything like that, I suggest you skip the video. Just putting it out there. So after the ultrasound revealed that my baby was gone, we scheduled a D&C for the Tuesday afterwards, and because that was the soonest that they could get me in. And so we were told to be there at 8:30, and I was scheduled for surgery at 9 in the morning. And so we get there at 8:30, we check in and everything, and time starts to pass, and eventually it's an hour and a half after my appointment time. And I'd already asked several times what was going on, and was simply told that the doctor was busy. And so I kind of figured, okay, maybe an emergency surgery came up, And finally, about 2 hours after my appointment time, about 11 o'clock, they took us back to pre-op, and my husband was able to come with me, and our son was at home with my brother, who had come to visit. And so we get back there, and the nurse tells me that the doctor had switched around her schedule somehow. At that point I was so angry that I really didn't hear half of what she was telling me. Just as a combination of anger and just what was going to happen, just had my brain fried. But something to do with she's got her schedules mixed up, and she was trying to play catch up or something. And so they had me change and everything, and they were putting in my IVs and my wires and the electrodes that go on you when you have to have surgery. And shortly after I got, by shortly I mean within 5 minutes of getting back to pre-op and getting into the bed, they were in the middle of the final touches for my IVs and everything, and all of a sudden I've actually never felt this before because I've never had it this heavy, but it felt like I wet myself, basically, and I knew immediately what had happened. And I told my husband to go get the nurse, who had literally just walked out of the little curtained area that I was in, and he didn't even think twice. He just ran and got her, and they came back, and I still had the blanket over my lap, and you could see the blood soaking through the top of the blanket and through the sides. And when they pulled back the blanket, my gown, my legs, all the way from my waist to my ankles was blood. And she had to call in 3 other nurses to help me clean up, because I had so many IVs and wires and things attached to my arms that I couldn't really move past where, like, right at my waist. And so there's nurses trying to clean me up, and my poor husband is white as a ghost, like, with this completely freaked out look on his face. He has no idea what to do, and he can't come near me because there's too many nurses, and I'm just kind of shell shocked at this point. I'm kind of just zoned out. And another doctor comes in with the nurses, and she pats my hand, and she tells me not to be embarrassed. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to the medical field, my grandmother and my aunt were both nurses. And so I know that they see crazy stuff every single day. And so from the time I was a child, anything that had to do with the medical field, if it happened to me, I was not embarrassed because they have seen worse. And she told me not to be embarrassed, and I was like, I'm not embarrassed. And they all kind of gave me a look, and I'm like, you can't tell me you haven't seen worse than this. And they were all kind of like, well, I mean, at least you're okay with it, and not, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm not okay with it, I just know that you see more. And so they're trying to keep me talking because obviously I'm getting kind of pale at this point because I'm losing a lot of blood. And they finally get me cleaned up enough to where I can stand up off the bed, and they clamp off my IVs. And they help me into these like special little like underwear type things. And they put a pad in, and they give me a new gown, and they wrap me up in a type of sheet and let my husband take me across the hall to the bathroom so that he can help me clean up a little bit better while they change the bed. And when I got up, I almost thought my husband was going to fall out because on the bed was clots and tissue, and it was enough to cover the bed and drip off the sides and onto the floor. And one of the nurses had to ask him if he was okay, and he just kind of stared at her. And so we finally got to the bathroom, and he helped me clean up, and when I got back, the bed was changed. And by the time I sat down, the bleeding had completely stopped. Like, there was nothing. And so we waited around for another 2 hours waiting for my surgeon, and they would periodically check in on me to make sure I wasn't bleeding again. And finally, the surgeon was available, and they had me sign all the papers and all that good stuff. If you've ever had surgery, you know what I'm talking about. Meet the anesthesiologist. And so they let my husband give me a kiss, and they started to put me back. And because I had bled so heavily, they wanted me to have an ultrasound in the OR before they put me under, to make sure that I still needed the DNC and that I hadn't passed fetal tissue, as they put it. And so I don't know if any of you watching have ever had a DNC, or if you were awake for the prep, but with mine, they didn't have my feet in stirrups. It was in a they were in slings. Think like movie style, and they have like a broken leg. And they had it pulled back and completely out, so I was basically doing the splits. And at this point, there's nothing of me covered except for my chest. And which, I mean, I know is necessary. And they do the ultrasound, and I hear the doctor say product is retained, which meant that the baby was still in my uterus. And at the time, I was obviously very emotional, and I started to cry. And there were my doctor, 4 nurses, and the man doing my anesthesia, and the man doing my oxygen. And the sweet guy who was doing my oxygen, he started to try to pat my hair and tell me it was okay, that we'd seen way worse. And I started to explain that I wasn't embarrassed. I'd had way more than who was in that room look around down there in the past week. But the last thing I remember was trying to say it's not that before waking up with them pulling the tube out of my throat. Because apparently during surgery I wasn't breathing properly, and they had to intubate me, which intubation is when they tilt your head back and they insert a tube to help you breathe. And my husband came in the room as I was waking up, and after the procedure, it wasn't the afterwards of the procedure wasn't as traumatic as the first. Sorry, another issue with the camera. I really need a new one. But anyway, I'm trying not to get into too much detail because I know that some people, they can't handle like graphic imagery, words, descriptions. And for me personally, the waiting and the fact that I could have started hemorrhaging in the waiting room with a dozen other people, excuse me, because my doctor couldn't keep their schedule straight somehow, just, for me, it just made it all the worse, because, I mean, I was there for a DNC, and I had already been accused of having an abortion a few days before by my intake nurse, who was really mean and nasty, and just, she accused me of having an abortion because she didn't read my file, just my name and why I was there, which said said DNC. And so I was already just really emotional and really just wanted it over. And so all of the setbacks and all of the delays and the complications just made it even worse for me emotionally. But eventually we got to go home, and we left the hospital about 5:30 in the afternoon. And we had been there since 8:30 in the morning. And we had supposed to have been gone by 12:30 originally. And it was just, the surgery where I was right next to labor and delivery. And so the entire 2.5 to 3 hours I was in the waiting room, we would see pregnant women coming back and forth, getting ready to have babies, or we would see women leave with their new babies. And there were countless times where I broke down in tears. And we could hear the chime. I believe we heard the chime twice, which for anybody whose hospital doesn't do this, some hospitals will do a chime every time a baby is born. And I believe we heard the chime twice before we got taken back into pre-op. And but just, that was my get off my chest video about my DNC, which, do not take this as don't have one, because if you need a DNC, you need to do it, because the consequences could be worse for yourself, for your health. But just, this was just really traumatic for me. But don't take it as a do not do this video, because that's not what it is. It's just, my particular experience was awful for me, and I just needed to get it out, so to speak. Okay, I'm getting really emotional, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I've gone over everything I needed to kind of get out. The vlog will have already been uploaded by the time this one comes up, so I hope you enjoyed the last video, and I'm not really sure what I expect y'all to do about this video, but here it is. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.